everyone. Deirdre Morgan here, intuitive and empowerment coach, popping in with my quick tips or practical suggestions for handling this 7 frequency that we're all surrounded with this month. I know it's a little late in the month for me to be giving you these, but it's also because I am wanting you to not only be able to reflect on the month and the experiences you've had so far, and if they fit and mesh in any way with any of my quick tips. And also, I'm asking you to take these quick tips with you into October, because September and October are very closely allied this year. So keep it all in mind and let's have some fun. These tips are really focused on giving you ways to move out of that 3rd dimension and into the 4th or 5th, depending on where your timeline is, your physical growth, as easily and as smoothly as possible. Before we go into the quick tips, let's rehash the 7 frequency a bit for those of you who may not have read my Insightful Living monthly newsletter or listened to my Zoom 40 talk on Monday the 11th. Let's get everybody more or less on the same page, okay? So 7, the 7 energy field. 7 is known as the truth seeker, the sage, okay? 7 represents that inner knowing, the wisdom. And wisdom is combined with your intuitive and intellect working together to see the bigger picture beyond yourself, okay? 7 is a magnetic energy, spiritual. It attracts, it draws, it pulls in. So it is not the time in September to be starting up something new, to be asserting, to be reaching out, to be persevering. All that is the action of the masculine. And it isn't about that this month. And we'll talk about why in a couple of minutes. However, 7 is an uneven number. And I know you've heard me say 100 times at least, uneven numbers represent the masculine energy. And masculine is the energy of action. So, what's the takeaway here? The takeaway this month with 7, and always is so, the action is in your inner world, in the inside, internal being of you, okay? It does not go out into the big bad world out there. 7 stands on its own. It's a deep, silent, quite still meditation to get us in touch with our truth, our authenticity, and get us to remember who we really are. And for that reason, it works on the subconscious and the unconscious aspects of our mind. That is why it gets the name mystical and magical. Quite the reputation, because we can't see what's happening or feel it, but we know it. So in numerology, the 7 represents completeness, perfection, and that which is whole and complete. Oneness, unity, is perfection, okay? So that is what the 7 is saying. Come play with this, come be this, become it, move with it. And how exactly do we do that? 7 represents a process or a protocol, which is really quite simple. Remember, keep your focus, keep your awareness internal, because it's a process of assimilation, recalibration, alignment, and then reintegration. Why? What's that? Why are we doing this? What's the calling? I would think that most of us this year have been knee deep in some emotional, therapeutic, coaching, counseling, healing situation where we have changed, we have healed emotional wounds and disappointment in some area in our life or some aspect of ourselves. And when we heal and shift, then the internal energy within us shifts. We open up, but we're looking at life with a different set of beliefs, perspectives, goals, priorities, you name it. In other words, we have a new power base within us, one that is healed, whole, and therefore perfect for the time being. And it's this power base that now we begin our journey to live with and from. And why is that? It's because you, in your process of dealing with old hurts and disappointments, have stripped the layers of protection that you wrapped around your heart to prevent further wounding or hurt. They're gone. And now the energy is shifted, the heart is open and active, and there's a new sheriff into you. So, keeping that in mind, here's some easy questions. Find a quiet moment. No, don't find it. Make a quiet moment for yourself and sit down and ask yourself, am I the same person that I was on January 1st? How am I different? What would I do differently if some of those situations rose again? And what am I feeling about all this? Okay. Am I comfortable with who I've become and where I'm at? And then there's the final question that really leads us into the quick tips and really experiencing that truth-seeking aspect that we're required to move into. Are there any third dimensional paradigms I still need to examine, review, pink slip? Okay, so let's step back. What are the core beliefs of the third dimension that won't work as I move into my future? And the first thing I have to say on that is our main task is to let go of the idea, the concept, the paradigm, the belief of the separatist paradigm. In other words, let go of the belief that said, I'm separate from God, we're separate from each other, I'm separate from nature. And realize that's only true if I believe it. And what happens when I feel all this separation? We feel less than, we feel a loss. It's Jungian, that gap, that void. Don't fall into it. We're moving on. This is evolution of humanity. So, what are the quick tips I offer you? First of all, my suggestion is lose that belief in pain and suffering. That's a choice. And yet we're taught from how many years knows when, we grow through pain and suffering. And if you think that's kind of far-fetched or it doesn't resonate for you, how many times have you heard or said, no pain, no gain? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Or the harder the struggle, the greater the reward. Oh my goodness. Are you really comfortable? Are you really willing to accept that kind of mentality? Or are you willing to take a quantum leap and say, no, I grow through love and joy? Because why can't we? It's an option. So give it some thought. How has all this pain and suffering worked for you? The second tip is appreciate your life. See the good in yourself, in others, and in life in general. And focus, please, on what you have in common with someone, not what sets you apart. What makes them less or what makes you more or makes you less because they look more, skip it. In fact, the third tip is one you've heard often. Skip the judgmental process, the not enough, not good enough, that's wrong, that's bad, that's evil, that's disrespecting me. Judgy is the action of the ego. And we know the ego is based in a doubt, fear, lack mentality. So if you find yourself in a judgy state or still in judgy mode, pull back, take a deep breath, and say, what am I afraid of that I'm going on the attack, that I'm judging? Okay. Number 4 is skip competing, in the sense of skip competing against others. To feel good about yourself, to say, I'm okay, I'm better, I'm this. All those labels, all that separatism, all that angst. In the 4th dimension and beyond, competition, yes, is still a validating process, but it's a process that has been internalized, where you check yourself. Am I doing the best I know to do? Am I exploring my potential to the best of my knowledge? Am I being on my way to my greater self? So if you want to pit yourself against somebody going forward, pit yourself against your higher self. Within. It's all within now, remember. Number 5 is, how well are you holding your boundaries? Are you coming from love, self-respect, self-worth, or are you coming from fear? So if you're caving, or if you're saying, oh, I'm still in fear, then check it out. Go in, remember, deep dive this month. How strong, secure are you in yourself, with yourself? If you're not quite sure, one of the things I have my clients do is write a list with the heading, things I've accomplished that I'm happy about. Okay. Now I've had one person write 5 things, and I've had another person write 34 things. There's no limit. You put on paper the things you've done that you really feel good about or glad you did, you may be proud of, you may be ecstatic about. It's your experience of you that counts. Okay? Number 6. Now, if you think about the tips 2 through 5, they all come under the 3rd dimensional paradigm of outer directed. And what do I mean by that? The outer directed is looking to define yourself, validate yourself, some cases invalidate yourself. But in other words, to feel good about to feel safe, because you've let other people opinion of you or your behavior to define and validate who you are. And the result of doing this is you give yourself your power over to others or outside experiences. And it's the second thing is it's setting you up to be the eternal victim. So it's on you now, because the energy has shifted. We're in the new times. The 3rd dimensional energy, while it may seem as strong and powerful as ever, is dissolving quickly, beautifully. So it's on you if you want to listen to other people and organize your life and thoughts around what they're saying or doing. You are choosing to be the victim or even the martyr. by accepting and allowing someone else to dictate who you are or who you must be. So take a deep breath, take back your power, believe in you. This is what 7 is saying. Have faith, trust yourself, trust who you are. And when that happens, remember what others say and do about you is really what they're saying about themselves. So it's on them, on you. Please, number 7 is don't buy into it. Do not personalize it or internalize it. You've heard me say that a lot too. What people say, what they do, but particularly what they say, is really a projection, most likely, of what they know in themselves to be true, but have yet to resolve. It's probably their biggest concern and fear about themselves. Keep that in mind. If you know they're just telling you about themselves, you can stay calm, you can stay centered, you can stay loving. And this is a very important thing to remember. This is where the sacred masculine can move in a bit, activate a bit, and begin to support you. Remember, the masculine is a very mechanical process. It's reasoning, it's logical, it's linear, it's objective. Whereas the feminine process is heart-based and it's subjective. So usually if someone's shooting shots at us, we go subjective. Take a deep breath and you say, hey, masculine, okay? Remember, it's about them. Objectify, detach, do not engage. Say, this is them. It does not have to affect me, influence me, take me down. And when they're through telling you whatever or behave, what I do, although I haven't had a great deal of experience with it, frankly, honestly, how about just saying, I'm sorry you're having that experience of me, or that you had that experience of me. I just don't see myself that way. That's it. Don't buy into what they're saying. Only insecurity defends itself. And one last quick tip. Please do one thing each day that brings you happiness or more happiness, more joy bubbles. This is about self-care, self-respect, and worth. This is about practicing honoring and celebrating who you are. Doesn't that sound great? And what a wonderful month you can have if you begin to practice that. It can be very simple. It can be a walk anywhere, but a walk in nature is very restorative and refreshing and rejuvenating. It could be listening to music. It can be reading a book. It can be cooking. It can be anything that just makes you feel super inside. Okay? And it varies. So do what's here. Do what your heart says, yeah, that's pink. Okay. Keep in mind, I've given you 8 quick tips. You don't have to do them all. Pick and choose. It will all depend where you are in your personal growth, in your evolution, where you are in your timeline. Some of you may have all 8 to think about. Some of you may have 2. Some of you may have 4. This is personal. Remember, 7 is saying, be your truth. Seek who you are. It won't be the same for anyone. I've given you options. I've given you choices. And I absolutely wish you the very best in this adventure. As you can see, there's a lot to think about this month, but there isn't a lot to do except love yourself. So if you'd like to text me, contact me with your questions, with your comments, Deirdre's Insights at gmail.com will get to me. And I'd really love and appreciate hearing from you. Please subscribe. I would really like that. Anyway, I think that's a wrap for September. I look forward to seeing you in October. And remember, it's all about love. Everything else is incidental.